The airbrush is weirdly a tool of contention in the hobby, so much so that I can guarantee somebody is turning this video off right now. And if you're still here, that means you're going to get something that they're not going to. More of this guy. I'm sorry, it's a terrible prize. Despite all the dickheads that say using an airbrush is cheating or it doesn't require skill and proficiency, it's not a magical stick found at the bottom of the Ark of the Covenant handed down to an ancient civilization by a flying spaghetti monster. It's literally just another tool. And just like any other tool, you have to spend some time with it to figure out what it can do, and more importantly, what it can't. And trust me, there is a lot of things that the airbrush can't do.
But for now, let's focus on what it can do. One of the biggest selling points for airbrushes is not even in this video. A standard generic AS186 compressor is about $100-120 in Australia, which is roughly 4 cans of Chaos Black Primer. And if you're army painting, you can go through a couple of them pretty quick. Also, I'm not actually trying to sell airbrushes here, so I'm not sure why I started with that point. But I suppose at least we can scratch that off the list of valid complaints. For this Jazz Cup White Scar, I'm going for a cold but interesting white. And because we're going to build it up into an actual white and we want white that feels like white, we're not going to start too deep and dark with the shadows. Starting at a pretty high mid-tone alien purple is going to be more than enough when we contrast it against the true white. And you may have already noticed we've already jumped into Thunderous Blue. Think of this as a secondary shadow tone. We're going to cover about 90% of everything we've just done, but leave a little purple in the shadow.
Here's where things start to get interesting. It's all about the angle of the dangle. No, I don't know why I'm doing this.
Because airbrushes can only spray in a straight line, we can take advantage of this in a few ways. And the main technique is controlling the angle that you're spraying from. Using a fairly steep angle here, the only things that are actually going to get covered or touched by the paint because it is spraying in a straight line is anything that's facing the nozzle. This is a great way to get interesting light placement and even more interesting shadows. Getting that natural variation for light interaction is kind of peak. Keep the angle consistent and you're golden.
Even though we've pushed some angles to the extreme to get some interesting placements, we can push this idea further and get some clean precision fairly easily with one simple trick. That was very YouTubey. And we could do it with one simple trick. I hate this and I hate me.
Since we have a bunch of straight lines and straight panels, we're going to grab some cardstock and use it as a stencil. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to exaggerate the white and the highlights without compromising the shadows by having to make them darker, so we're going to go lighter instead. And because it is a highlight, I'm really only focusing on the front and the higher sections. Any panel that looks like it's facing upwards is absolutely going to cop some. And also, this is absolutely not a new idea at all. Even though this is a very miniature wargame focused painting channel, we're still using the same ideas, tools and techniques from a whole bunch of other art forms. I'm honestly not sure why everybody in the hobby has created this own little ecosystem where you only do what other people do specifically in this hobby, but it's kind of fucking stupid. Great things can happen when you look outside your immediate interests and apply it to what you're doing. Non-metallic metal comes from oil painting, and once it made its way into the hobby, it took over.
That's about as far as we're going to push the airbrush. There are similar ideas like masking, pinstriping, or even freehand, but they are very specific skills for very specific outcomes, and right now, I ain't here for it. Which means, it's brush time.
I've heard stories about people that can paint things like teeth and eyeballs with airbrushes, but I'm starting to think it's an urban legend because I've never ever seen it. And to be 100% honest, I've struggled to do those things with a traditional brush. At the end of this video, you're going to see the rider of this bike with glowing blue eyes. I did paint pupils on it originally, but quickly found out that was the difference between fearsome and surprised. Also, for future reference, I'm going to call this a sponge on a stick. It's actually called a chipping brush if you need one. And what I'm doing here is just ripping little chunks off so we can get a little bit more precision in there. Color-wise, this is deep Azure, and for application, it's thinned down the same way that you would for any other layer paint with a traditional brush. For the Jazz Cut pattern, we're going to break it down fairly simply. We're just creating a couple of slashes and then connecting them so it looks like a zigzag. But the real question is, why am I not just using a brush? Well, if you check out the original Jazz Cup design, zoom in, you'll find out that as it gets to the edges, it kind of breaks away. And that's pretty hard to replicate with a traditional brush. But with a sponge, it's automatic. Which means this was really the right tool for the right job. And I'm going to pat myself on the back because tearing up this sponge on a stick was universe brain.
The sponge on a stick trick was pretty sick, and I've pulled this scheme out a few times, and honestly, this is probably the best result so far. But again, very specific skill for very specific outcome. Are we noticing a pattern yet?
To cap out this design, we need our little purple squiggle. And again, for the original design, it does break away at the edges, but I wasn't confident enough to get the sponging that precise. So, to replicate that with a traditional brush, I just went a little jaggedy. Instead of the smooth stroke that we'd usually whip out, this is a little bit more of a swipe and stipple. That little bit of undulation is going to create an unevency, and that's really what we want here. Which is lucky, because some of these lines are a bit whack. I absolutely did come back in and strengthen some of these. And by strengthen, I mean to try to completely unfuck it. The downside to airbrushes creating smooth and easy blends is it's pretty hard to come back and clean up. Essentially, your two choices are live with it or start from scratch.
As funny as it is to think about a Space Marine being jousted off his bike and it continuing to roam the battlefield by itself sans rider, we are going to paint a rider. Also, Army Painter, Heresy 5, fuck yeah.
That grav bike has a lot of large flat panels. The Space Marine does not. But by using the same ideas, angles and techniques, we're going to get similar results. The only little difference here is I'm starting from Diabolic Plum instead of Alien Purple. Because we're now working with smaller and more rounded shapes, I want a little bit more dynamicism between the highlight and the shadow. Not a huge amount, just a little bit extra. Other than that, it's business as usual, going to Thunderous Blue and then to set in those brighter whites, Skyshard. I didn't really have time to mention it first time around, but Skyshard being a cool off-white basically sets in our white tones for the armor while still giving us somewhere to go and highlight with the true white. Which is honestly another plus for the airbrush. Because it atomizes paint to push out incredibly thin layers, it takes a few coats to build up to full opacity. And if you play around with this, you can leave the full opacity away and still have that little extra room to come back in with a traditional brush and do all your edge highlighting. Which is something that we do have to do because one of the drawbacks of the airbrush is it covers indiscriminately. It can't spray around corners, but it is going to fill up any surface that is pointed towards it.
Ah, would you look at that? We need a brush again. I thought I was going to buy an airbrush, push a button, my entire backlog would be finished, and I'd have several golden demons, a couple of slayer swords, and a tour bus full of groupies.
I am both shocked and shook that the hyperbole internet has lied to me. Surely all of this additional brushwork is unnecessary. Alright, so I'm not a big fan of edge highlighting, never have been, never will be. But for something like this, it is completely necessary to get some detail separation. But in saying that, I'm really only treating these like a highest highlight, all the sharpest edges. And we're also going to have to do the inverse with some panel lining because again, the airbrush just covered fucking everything. Still need readability.
Alright, a few things happened here. Mostly I didn't press record. Other than that, a few of the emblems and tchotchkes copped some turquoise. Since we have some light overspray hitting things like fur texture, I'm just gonna phone it in and use some speed paint. In a roundabout way, speed paint is kind of like an airbrush for the brush. It does one thing very well. Say it with me. Very specific skill for very specific outcome.
Speed paints are in the same boat as the airbrush and the sponge on the stick. It has a job, it has a place, no more, no less. It's weirdly just the airbrush that gets dragged over the coals.
This wouldn't be an airbrush video if we didn't do the one thing that everybody buys an airbrush for. Let's get some of that instant OSL.
In this video, you've seen a lot of layering work and, detail work that comes after the airbrush. This is going to stay at tabletop ready, so we're not going too hardcore into it. I'm just going to give a very rough highlight of white before coming in with power node glow. That slight variation is going to give us the effect that it's somewhat attempting to glow, and then the actual glow that's coming for it, we're going to very lightly spray onto the actual model itself, because this is our OSL. The key to this one is very thin, very light. The further away we get from the light source, which in this case is a blade on a stick, the less intensity the light has by the time it disperses against the surface. So by the time it gets to the bike, we just need a little discoloration. To sit on a table and throw dice, this is absolutely going to do just fine. You know what? This will probably do. As always, a massive thank you to the Army Painter and the best Patreon members in the world. Big love, you filthy heretics.